be enough forest that is protected so the leopard can move.
WWF Pakistan and KPK Wildlife Department are working together on a project aimed at resolving the conflict between man and the leopards to ensure their continued existence in these forests. International scientists are also at hand, conducting research on the cat's habits, needs and behavior. To gather this information, the scientists must catch a leopard and put a radio collar on it.
Radio tracking is the only way to be sure about the movement of animals. Only by setting a radio tag you'll decide how often you want to know where the animal is, where he has been, and you can also predict after a while where it will go.
ट्रैप लगाने से पहले हम कैमरा ट्रैप इंस्टॉल किया करते थे और उससे हमें उस लेपर्ड की फ्रीक्वेंट ऑन एंड ऑफ मूवमेंट जो थी वो हमें थोड़ी सी ऑब्जर्व होने लगी और उसकी बेस के ऊपर फिर हम साइट की सिलेक्शन किया करते थे.
The scientist's first task is to trap a leopard, by no means an easy task. A specially designed and built cage has to be placed in a carefully selected spot and camouflaged. The cage is baited with a live goat protected behind a wall of glass where the leopard won't be able to reach it. Under cover of darkness, a leopard approaches the trap. Drawn by the smell and sight of the goat, it warily examines the trap before finally entering. Now, the trapped animal must be darted with a sedative as soon as possible. Once safely sedated, the leopard can be weighed and measured and blood samples taken. Finally, the collar is fitted and it is released back into the forest. This is the first time that a common leopard has been collared in Pakistan. The radio collar will transmit information about the animal back to the researchers via a satellite link.
We released the animal, it was the 1st of September. We calculated the area that it's using as part of its home range, and it seems that this is the area of about 40 square kilometer, which constitutes its home range.
Using the information gathered, it is hoped that the wildlife experts, in collaboration with the local communities, will be able to devise a successful strategy, one that can help in protecting both humans and their livestock, but also one that will protect the endangered animals. For there to be any hope of success, the scientific efforts must also be followed up by education and awareness campaigns. These places and the wildlife belong to all of us. We must all come forward and take ownership of these majestic animals and the forests of Ayubia, to protect and conserve them for the coming generations.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to PTV World News. I'm Shahzad Qayyum with the top stories of this hour. Federal Cabinet accords approval to extend jurisdiction of Auditor General of Pakistan to all autonomous bodies, says Information Minister Shibli Faraz. Prime Minister Imran Khan conveys Pakistan's commitment to strengthen bilateral relationship with Afghanistan, including trade and economic ties and people-to-people linkages. He said this while talking to Chairman Hizb-e-Wahdat-e-Islami Afghanistan and former Chairman of Afghan High Peace Council Muhammad Karim Khalili. Chief of the Army Staff General Qamar Javed Bajwa says a stable and prosperous Afghanistan at peace with itself and its neighbors is in Pakistan's national interest. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi reaffirms Pakistan's commitment to continue its efforts for peace and stability in Afghanistan. He was talking to a Afghan delegation led by Chairman of Hizb-e-Wahdat-e-Islami Muhammad Karim Khalili in Islamabad. Government starts procurement of coronavirus vaccine. Frontline healthcare workers to get jab in first phase. Pakistan Navy conducts successful tests of underwater anti-ship missiles and torpedoes firing in Arabian Sea. India's Supreme Court stays the implementation of controversial farm laws amid ongoing huge protests by farmers. Modi government argues before the court that Khalistanis have infiltrated the protest. Pakistan women national cricket team leaves for South Africa on a Durban-bound flight from Karachi. All 24 squad members return negative results of pre-departure COVID-19 test. That's all for the moment. For more details and live streaming, log on to our website world.ptv.com.pk. You can find us on Facebook page with the name of PTV World and follow us on Twitter at WorldPTV. Coming up next is Politics Today with Farrukh Pitafi. Stay tuned to watch.
Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I'm Farrukh Pitafi. We have been talking about politics of Pakistan and accountability issues for quite some time. But every now and then there is some new factor that it either raises or reduces the quality of debate. At this moment, one such factor is a broadsheet. There's an organization called Broadsheet. Its CEO, Kaveh Musavi, has given an interview to Irfan Hashmi, a Pakistani journalist based in UK, and the content of it mostly is which we have actually surmised on our own. There are, of course, contentious points. We are going to talk about that as well. But at this moment, it seems that bearing his testimony and whatever he has said, one realizes that there is no going back. When you talk about accountability process, in that we have especially seen that the political parties under various outfits and then PDM as well, they keep on presenting themselves as the martyrs of democracy, but it seems that there is a lot they have to answer for regarding corruption charges and the money that has not been explained. In this interview, there are very interesting aspects which are very important, and I have witnessed some of them as well. For example, General Musharraf started on a very high note when it came to accountability, and at that moment, General Amjad, a person I had known at that time, and he was a very upright man, actually went after corruption. And it is also true, and I was a mere, a worker in a newsroom at that time, but I remember that Sherpa Saab, the senior leader, whose name was not taken in this interview, but we know that he was the talk of the discussion. Actually, first he was being probed and he left Pakistan via Afghanistan border, and then he was later appointed the Interior Minister of Pakistan as well. So there are many things that you can corroborate easily, but there are many other aspects which are important to remember. For example, the man seems to be angry or frustrated with Pakistan per se, and he seems to be taking it out on the government of Pakistan, the current government of Pakistan, despite the fact that the only thing the government of Pakistan did recently after this government's coming over, taking over the reins of power, was only asking him for a discount to save the exchequer's money. We are going to talk about all these matters and more. One point that stands out is that perhaps if we want to actually go for accountability, the parameters will have to be broadened. We are going to talk about all these matters with our guest. In the studio, I'm joined by Fareed Rais, a senior journalist, an anchor, an analyst. Thank you very much, Fareed Rais, for being part of the program. Next to him is Barrister Umar Malik, who is a legal expert. I think a word barrister with his name actually qualifies that. Also has been very helpful in this program in explaining various legal aspects of the matter. Thank you very much for being part of the program. I'm joined by Ghazala Safi Sahiba, MNA of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. She joins us via Skype. Ghazala Safi Sahiba, thank you very much for being part of the program as well. Let me begin with you, Ghazala Safi Sahiba, and let me ask you, you must have gone through the interview. You must have seen the content of what Mr. Musavi had to say. Now the question is, what exactly is the government going to do about it, especially given that he says that he has the kind of resources needed to further probe various cases, and at least $1 billion is parked in one account that belongs to a group of people who might have actually stolen the money from Pakistan. Ma'am, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Pitafi, for asking me in for this program. I do agree that it is very important, and our government has been very. I mean, it's the mandate of our government. It's the policy of our government to go against corruption, and definitely we have also announced the policy of whistleblowing, and whoever lets us know about the corruption that has happened within the government and while being in the public service, whoever has done any corruption of that sort, where there is money laundering or anything of the sort has happened, should be considered seriously. And obviously, whenever somebody would like to share this responsibility and help Pakistani government out, we would not say no to it, because it's important for us to identify, apart from the means of corruption that the government is aware of, other means also that have happened during the public service, the politicians and big position holders in the government. Any sort of corruption that somebody else comes in.
Because in that interview, Mr. Musavi actually quotes General Musharraf as well, that they were going after, his government was going after corrupt people, and then there was an election, and as per his words, the crooks were re-elected. And that is a huge allegation and huge statement to make. The question is, one does understand that there are political exigencies as well. Usually one has to, in order to survive in politics, one has to make some tasteless alliances as well. Do you think that the current government, which has a hung parliament, can go after all the corrupts without actually, sparing anybody at all?
You called our government as a hung parliament?
You have a hung parliament, right? You have a very small majority in the National Assembly.
Well,
so that means that you won't be able to go after everybody. There are allies that might also be accused of corruption.
But it's important, you see, those who have already been identified, as corrupt individuals and having corrupt practices have to be addressed, have to be acknowledged, and have to be put to task. And those who have not been brought in to this level where they have been known to people, they also should be identified. We have different institutions who are working on it, which have been, according to the other parties.
And we are going to talk about the institutions as well. Ma'am, allow me to bring in other guests. You have listened to the government's response. The question is that we have been actually...
Government doesn't have...
Ma'am, I'm going to come back to you just in a minute. Let me include the other guests who are waiting patiently for their their turn. Farid Reis, you must have you must recollect that for the length of our lifetime, we have been talking about and listening to the talk about corruption, right, and how to go about it. Now the question is, after 20-30 years of these attempts, we still are where we were back then. What exactly is lacking here? I understand that Mr. Musavi actually points out that expediency might have killed the accountability drive. But should we go back to people like him, or should we actually take a long, hard look and restate the parameters?
You are very well said about that. Yes, we are listening about corruption. We are also listening about the accountability. We are also coming across this statement regarding multiple and different political leaders whenever they are, and they have used the slogans and the jargons of accountability in their political and the election campaigns also, that they will bring back the past money of the people. But the thing is this is the tip. I feel that this is the prime time, and this is the unique opportunity for the Prime Minister of Pakistan, for the PTI government, that the PTI government, Imran Khan, when he was not the Prime Minister of Pakistan, he claimed that he will not spare anybody.
Right.
He will hold accountable whoever the person is.
Right.
Either the person is the person or individuals or the groups who belong to the government or to the people.
But Farid, here's the problem. When we actually quote those lines, we actually are not doing justice. With due respect, at that time he was asking us, the voters, for a 2/3 majority. We didn't give that majority to him. At this moment, it is a hung parliament. He is in power, but he doesn't have the kind of capacity that is needed. Cannot make laws all the time, because the parliament half of the time is fighting among, parliamentarians are fighting each other. And then, because he had to cross the threshold of a majority, they had to actually make alliances like PMLQ, a party that, as per General Musharraf's and this Kaveh Mulsavi, what kind of words he has used. There are other parties that they had to, make an alliance with. How do you propose they actually solve this problem?
The people and the nation, they are waiting because they had the hope with this current government. They have very high hopes with this Prime Minister, as what the Prime Minister has said, and they believe in that whatever Imran Khan Sahab said, and being the Prime Minister, he will do justice with his word. Yes, you are very true about it that he has a hung parliament, he has the allies, but whenever a question is being asked about this thing, Imran Khan Sahab has always said this thing that he cannot bring the people out of the world. He has to do the politics in this society, in this thing. So within the given circumstances, he had to do whatever he had claimed. We can understand that whoever is in the power, those persons or those people haven't done 100% or a complete justice with this word, but yes, this is the opportunity for the government to hold the people accountable, whoever they are. If we want to move our society in a correct direction, if we want to move in a positive way.
Hang on, here's the problem. Before I go to Barrister Umar, let me ask you one very quick thing. General Musharraf, this argument that you cannot bring angels from the skies to make them ministers, right? We heard this before as well, by General Musharraf. When after 3 years, when he had all the power, he couldn't actually solve this problem, and then he had to actually agree to the elections, right? And at that time, the government came and the same people came back.
Because
how do you think a Prime Minister who is democratically elected is able to exceed that kind of limit?
In my opinion, any person, either a Prime Minister or a President who is of the Pakistan, and whenever you go for the elections, you and me understand it very clearly that we are somehow we are bound by the electables and the politics of the electables, who somehow because when you need to form a government, you need the support, and those electables who are in the power, and that's why you see the same persons, the same faces in each and every single government, whether it be the Pervez Musharraf government, whether it be the People's Party government, whether it be the PMLN government, or whosoever government is there, you see some particular faces who are in the government. So unless and until we get rid of these faces, and unless and until we decide this thing that we will not be
rid of faces is not accountability is concerned.
But you hold accountable. When you hold accountable someone, when you go for the accountability, then you have to get rid of those faces.
I see that Barrister Umar has brought some legal arguments with him. I can look at them. But Barrister Sahab, I tell you, yesterday when I was doing the program, my core argument was reconciliation, not confrontation. And then I listened to this man's interview, and I realized one thing which sharply changed my point of view. We were this close to nabbing all the corrupt people, and then something went awry. Is it possible that we can have consensus again, at least state institutions and the intellectuals, to go after corrupt people no matter what?
I think first of all, if we want to do accountability, and if we want, or this government wants to start, they will have to start from this $29 million, which we have recently paid within like last 2-3 days, and accounts of the Pakistani embassy were attached, and through United Bank that amount has been paid. So this is about 4.5 billion rupees of public exchequer, public money. So we'll have to start from this thing, that 2003, the contract was expired, then what happened which made this amount to increase and to become $29 million, and which is like 4.5 billion rupees. We cannot afford that. We are not that country. We can't pay just $4.5 billion like this. And I think
$4.5 billion,
4.5 billion rupees, and this is $29 million. So I think starting from this, that are there any procedural irregularities? What happened? So we have to start from here.
If you talk about horse's mouth, the man is telling you that until General Amjad was there, and that is before the elections, right? There was disagreement and they were going after corrupt people like anything. And then elections came and General Amjad was also replaced, and after that, that contract actually lapsed.
That contract lapsed because it was for 3 years, and 2003 it lapsed. But the problem here is that that list and the people who were there, it is basically charge sheet against NAB. So, like I'm saying, that we'll have to start from this $29 million. We'll have to ask NAB first.
May I ask you a personal question? How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay, you're 32. You're talking about 20 years old kids, right?
Yeah.
The question that I have to ask you is that you must be a child back then when it started. And you're talking about an institution which doesn't seem to change at all. I mean, people have come and gone, people have retired. How can you actually say that it is about a charge sheet against NAB of today rather than the leadership of that time?
No, see, this is what we are doing even today. We are going against the people. The same even field thing is again under trial in the NAB and in the High Court again.
Yeah, but not
again,
with
the same
Musavi.
No, not Musavi. Musavi has just.
Not
we are talking about a person who has just obtained $29 million from Pakistan,
right.
And he's lecturing us about the accountability thing and all those things. Okay?
Right.
So we'll have to consider that as well. We can't just say that Musavi is. This lecture is costing us. This interview is costing us $29 million. Mr. Musavi is not standing, not sitting with the evidence and saying that okay, this is the evidence I have collected, and nobody is taking it from me.
I'm operating under two understandings, right? Two assumptions. One, that it actually, whatever he got, the money he got, actually came because there was a legal argument in a court and there was a verdict. I understand that his case might not be that correct and Pakistan might actually go and appeal this, right? That might happen. The second thing is the narrative he built. Half of that is witnessed by you and I. The kind of corrupt people we have seen and the kind of wealth that is floating around which is not explained. Meanwhile, people with small bankruptcies like 2 lakh rupees, 3 lakh rupees, they are destroyed before our eyes.
True.
So is it not, I can understand we can go after Mr. Musavi if we want to, and the government of Pakistan has all the legal arguments. The question is, should we not actually be thinking about going after all the corrupt people?
We must be going against all these people, and the problem here is that this accountability has always been politicized. Starting from the Musharraf regime, he was a military dictator. He could do many things, but he did not do it. Like Musavi said, Musavi said that after some time, he said that okay, just let them go, and somebody was made even home minister, and $3.5 million was his in account somewhere.
Aftab Sherpa was maybe, I think he didn't recollect his name. Yeah.
So now the thing is that if we want to do accountability, this is what everybody is saying, that if you want to do it, just do it across the board without any like political pressures and all these things.
Can we do that?
I think then at least if we do not want to do it, or if we cannot do it, then do not go for these things, at least internationally. This has costed us $29 million.
I agree. Yeah. But let us not confuse forest for trees, right?
Yeah.
The situation at this moment is that we are talking about humongous dent to the economy, right? These people, if they are corrupt and they have been, filching money, it has been happening for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And somebody has to go after them. Do you think, A, we can afford going after them? B, given that you are a constitutionalist, you believe in constitution, constitution is going to support the idea of accountability, or it is going to support the idea of a democratically elected assembly of whosoever it might be? It can be crooks as well.
See, even now, today, as we speak, the leader of opposition is in jail, right?
Right.
So the constitution does not protect the corrupt people and the process of law.
Right.
But if somebody like after some time, if you decide that he is my political ally, or he is beneficial for me to take my government to some next level, or to buy some time, then they do these compromises. So the constitution in itself does not protect at all these corrupt people.
Okay.
It is only the politician or any or the dictators or somebody who for just their own benefit.
Can we afford it?
Well, I think we will have to do it. but we'll have to do it across the board and with all the legal things.
Right. Razala Safi Sahaba, this seems to be a situation where perhaps somebody from the government of Pakistan can come forward and tell us what exactly is the strategy. Can you help us understand how you actually, or your government actually plans to go about the matter?
Well, I exactly do not, I will not be able to comment exactly what the government is at this point thinking of going ahead and going forward with this issue. But generally speaking, I feel that Pakistani government is serious about tackling the corrupt individuals in the previous regime. Also, at this point of time, when we have a fair enough data of those who have been in the list of corrupt individuals. So if we are, and as we are very serious about this issue, we would definitely want to go forward and take up. But as it is, those who are allegedly a part of the corrupt team in the previous government you can see how they are wandering on the streets and how they are doing what they have to do, and they have not been able to, I mean, we should now as a government, we have plans, and Prime Minister has also very seriously point all those corrupt politicians who have brought a dent to the economy of Pakistan and have taken a large sum of money to the countries outside. And therefore, I think Pakistani government is very serious about this issue, and they would like to resolve and sort this out ASAP.
Right. Let me ask you again about the potential political consequences of whatever you are going to do. If we agree that the corruption is a big and rampant problem in Pakistan, and we have to actually take care of the matter, that would essentially mean that there might be people in other departments as well, not only among among politicians. For example, media might be might have some corrupt people, other institutions as well. Do you think that in the evolution of the country, in the evolution of this society, we are at a place where we can go after everybody who might be corrupt?
Well, if I was not representing the government as my own personal point of view, I would say and suggest that we need to go out for all those who are creating corruption, because the media also is responsible for creating a mindset of people, and if they are trying to support the corrupt individuals or those corrupt individuals have their own media houses and they change the narrative by and try to influence people and for them. And also whoever is in different departments having different organizations in the government have had previous record of, because you see, corruption is one thing which actually destroys the whole setup. When people start going for money, they stop respecting their responsibilities, and therefore there is a complete disaster in every institution. And when people see big cars and big money coming in, and when people start to, we will also have to redefine the way of life, like we used to have a simpler life in the 60s when the government was flourishing, the country was flourishing, and the people were living in a simpler life, in a simpler way. So we'll have to redefine the way of life for ourselves, because if we are going for big money and therefore you see getting respect out of the money that we have, the ill-gotten money, therefore there will be more corruption. Because if people are respected for what they are and who they are, and not because what they have and how much they have,
right,
we will not have a corrupt life.
A fair assessment.
Slowly, gradually, it's not just the responsibility of one organization or just the government or the media. It's a collective responsibility of all the people who are living in Pakistan and the poorest of the poor should take the task, and the middle class, because middle class.
Yeah, and that actually was something, that point was made during that interview as well, that this money could have gone to charities. Earlier, Farid Rais, very interesting observation coming from Barrister Umar Malik. He says that accountability process was always politicized. Do you know why it was politicized? Because we media people kept on presenting it as a political victimization of people who were on the other side. I mean, he says that at the start we also thought that General Musharraf's government might be actually after political opponents, but later on they actually wanted to go after everybody. So what is the protection that if anybody goes after the corrupt, media is not going to make them martyrs? They seem to be doing it already. One major media group every day keeps on presenting PDM as a panacea.
It's very right, and unfortunately, and this is the dilemma over here, that whenever we come across the accountability, or whenever any of the leadership in Pakistan who just claims that he will hold accountable all the people, and if somehow we have seen some kind of serious accountability measures by the government, then those opponents or those parties who feel that these accountability measures are against them or their party, they start to make a narrative that they are being politicized.
Okay.
So this is the biggest dilemma over here. So we need to get rid of it, because if we
no, I understand, but my question was essentially about media, right? Two of the major media groups,
yeah,
right? One the oldest, one of the recent ones. You know, their heads were kept in custody for quite some time, and at that time, despite the fact that the charges were of corruption, they were their channel was allowed. The channels were allowed to actually portray them as martyrs. So who's going to actually take care of the fact that nobody actually gives it a spin as if somebody is being victimized for something that they are doing rather than what they are?
Angels will not come.
Okay.
We have to do ourselves. And as the media, it is termed as the spin master.
Do we really need angels to do the right thing?
We are the people. We are the persons.
You and I are not angels, right?
No, we are. We are the human.
But have you been corrupt?
We are.
Have you been part of any corruption?
No. Alhamdulillah, not at all, not at all. But it's your inner sense, it's your inner feeling, it's your sense of responsibility. Whether it be an individual, whether it be a politician, whether it be a media owner, whether it be anybody, whether it be a politician.
Farid Rais, is it that impossible to find people, politicians, media walas, others, who are not corrupt?
No, it is not impossible. There are many people who are not involved in any kind of a corruption and all those things. But the basic thing is we are just more focused on those things and on those people who are indulged in these kind of activities. Because when we are talking about this corruption and the corrupt measures about the thing, and as you mentioned about the media and the media houses also, I think so that we should not be the party. The media houses or the journalists or the media owners or the media houses should play a very pivotal and a very unbiased role.
But let me tell you of a very curious case of one institution which is very important in Pakistan, the Competition Commission of Pakistan, right? CCP. The Commission of Pakistan was actually supposed to go and work on trust busting, right? Antitrust movements. It continues to work till the time it goes and actually opens an audit of PBA, Pakistan Broadcasters Association. Next day, it is dead in waters, right? So you have to understand that we are talking about a lot of concerns which are big and which are going to eat up your country, right? That is this, how to actually hone the laws in such a way that we ensure corruption is taken care of, and no cartels, no pressure groups can get away with that theft or murder.
I think the problem here is the leadership. Basically, the problem here is that once a party is there, for his own government and for like for prolonging his government, he always pinpoints his political opponents, which is even now today as we speak it is happening. Political opponents are the
when you say he, you mean
anybody, not I'm not naming anyone, but anybody, be it Nawaz Sharif, be it Imran Khan, be it the People's Party, or be it anybody.
But regarding Nawaz Sharif, I mean, this is really heartbreaking. In 2017, this guy says that we actually gave the proof, or reached out to the government of Pakistan, and we told them that there is one account housing $1 billion. I mean, the kind of miracles it could do for Pakistan, and we can go after them. The people who came, first they were not communicating, then they came and they asked, how much cut are you going to give us?
Okay. This is what I'm saying, that it's not about the accountability. It's only about the political things and political maneuvering. Okay. Accountability has always been used for political maneuvering and taking more seats into the National Assembly, or putting opponents in jail and buying more time. Okay. This is what's been happening in the country. And we are only pinpointing the politicians here. And do you know, very recently,
I took my own profession to task.
Yeah, exactly.
And not only the broadcasters, I mean, journalists. I mean, the anchors were moving around in potatoes and Mercedes, right? We have to ask, how did they earn this?
True. And Musavi has even said that the weapons bought for some institution, even in those deals, they were kickbacks.
I did listen to the entire interviews.
Yes.
I didn't hear procurement issues, but procurement can also be opened up. He gave the example of Admiral Huq, right?
Exactly.
And who was taken to task,
exactly.
and he was stripped of his rank and everything.
Yes.
So, if there is a momentum, you can go after everybody.
Everybody, but that has to be non-political. But the problem here is that once you start doing these things, like when you are in power, you start pinpointing your political opponents and using the accountability thing. That creates more problems for accountability.
That there is a couplet which actually talks about finding how to find the murderers when everybody is wearing gloves, right?
Yeah.
And that's the question that one has to look at.
I must add one thing.
If me and people like me and perhaps like you keep on making it political, it is going to stay political.
I must add one thing. There is a trust deficit basically in whenever we talk about this accountability, and whenever we go across or go behind and among the accused person that he is like basically in the history, in the overall historical span of this country, people don't believe in this thing, because whenever we have given it, we have given it just, as we have talked before, that it's just a politicization of something, that the one government is politicizing somebody else, so that we need to make a trust that if someone, and I have already said before that this government has a very prime opportunity to go and to make this trust, that yes, if we are holding accountable to someone, if we are holding accountable to the people across the board, then yes, this is the accountability, and this is the account, and the person is
held accountable. The standards have to be very transparent and clear. But let me, before you take longer, because it wasn't your turn, I have to go to
I just had to add.
I'm going to come back to you, but Ghazala Safi Sahib, there are two possibilities. One aspect, if we all girdle ourselves up and we get ready to go after corruption, then there are going to be consequences. There are going to be powerful people who are going to come after the government, who are going to try to patronize the country, and of course it is going to be, it will have negative ramifications for governance, or the image of governance. But on the other side, naturally, if we are this close and we can actually go after people, this country is heavily indebted, and naturally that money was not spent on the country. Otherwise, this country would have been quite different, perhaps like Paris or London. The question is there another way to make it more transparent? Perhaps there open trials, I mean public trials of people, or perhaps some kind of mechanism where everything is made public. Nothing is kept from the people of Pakistan.
Well, to start off, accountability be taken of those people who have had public office, who have had the responsibility to serve the people, and they did not do justice to that. They're the first people who have to be accountable. Therefore, Nawaz Sharif and all those who have previously been into power are the first ones to be accountable, because they have taken public money in their own accounts to money laundering and have taken the money to different countries. And they are not accountable for the money they have put into the accounts. So
Right. There seems to be some audio problems.
The ones who should be accountable, and those who return should be also assessed and be made accountable. At the moment, it's those who have served for several years and have taken the money and have upgraded their lifestyle, have upgraded the lifestyle of their children and their families, and have taken a lot of money outside and have got palaces outside the country. That does not actually explain why did they have that money outside the country, and why was the money not invested in the country. It's because they could not do it. All the theft they had done to public money had to go outside for them not to be accountable. So it is a segment which has to be covered first. The people who have served the public figures have to be accountable first, and then that includes bureaucrats. They include politicians as well as bureaucrats, because they've had liaison before and they have worked together to have hundreds and thousands of cases in which bureaucrats with the measly money have got houses all over Pakistan. They should also be made accountable. It shouldn't be just the politicians, it should be the bureaucrats. And why do we always jump to the generals and the army guys? First of all, we have to improvise on the system and go ahead and check on those who have taken the money and eaten up the Pakistani.
Right. And here's the problem. We have been complaining about two very important aspects. One, since this government has come, we have been waiting for the closure of cases. And in that, they might be actually brought to some kind of logical conclusion or closure. The question is, repeatedly we are told that there are problems with prosecution. And now we learn that there are firms internationally that might be able to help us dig out all the evidence that is needed and make a valid case. So the question right now is, can we actually approach similar kind of organizations, and once all of this is collected or tabulated, can it be an open trial where media perhaps can cover these people being tried?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, I think media can do a media trial on that, like the Panama leaks that came out. Initially, people couldn't actually understand what it was all about, and slowly and gradually, everybody started to talk about it, because it became clear through media and through sources that, and it was a media trial which came into open, and everybody started to talk about it. So media should take a case now, and
I'm talking about trial on media. Yeah.
We should take help from all those organizations or people who are actually letting us know about the corruption against in the government, right, or otherwise.
And that's I take it as a yes. Allow me to actually go back to Barrister Saab. We are running short of time. Barrister Saab, does any law actually stop the courts or the NAP to hold open trials where these procedures can be actually aired on television live?
Yes, the code of the court rules of conducting the court, they prohibit the live media coverage of that, but the journalists are there to report it. We can change it if you want to do it for the special courts, for the NAB courts. That can be changed, but the rules exist that it cannot be aired live on TV. But the journalists are there. It is an open court.
I tell you what then happens when I am going to report about something. I am a human being. I am bound to have my own biases, right? When I go there and I'm reporting, I might actually start unknowingly start filtering things that I don't like, and then I report in a very different manner. Compare two people, I mean anchors, right, and court reporters. When court reporters go there, they are meticulous in actually reporting the details. Usually they have to actually report on social media because television will not allocate that kind of time. And then there is this band of my clan, right, the anchors, mine and Farid's, who keep on obscuring things or, giving things spin. I'm not accusing you, by the way, but I'm just pointing out that this happens. Why not actually leave it to the judgment of people? You can have the 200 million size of a jury that is watching everything.
There's absolutely no harm in it. I mean, rules can be amended and the government can work on it. It's basically the government who can, law ministry who can change the things, and even the courts, the procedures and all these things can be amended.
Right. Farid, if you want to add something very quickly, please do, because I'm told that we are left with only 2 minutes.
I just want to say this thing, that accountability is not very difficult in this thing. Whatever your opinions, yes, that can be done. But if the government thinks, any government, if that government is willing to do accountability.
Right, but this government is very serious. Everybody keeps on accusing it of doing too much rather than too little in this
action speak louder than words.
I think
you will not get away by shaking your head at the end of the program. No. In another program, we will talk about all these matters. But at this moment, Barrister Umar Malik, thank you very much for your time. I'm told that we have run out of time. Farid Rais, always great having you in the show as well. Ghazala Shafi Sahaba, thank you very much for your precious time as well. You have listened to our participants. I think this interview has the kind of consequences that nobody has actually thought of. It is going to keep reminding all of us that there are actual corrupt people in the country and outside the country also, who might have actually stolen the wealth and gone away. And remember, when General Musharraf actually had to sign the NRO that was then struck down by the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan, in that we kept on talking about politicians alone, but there were many other important players that actually were given exemption. Maybe all exemptions were not withdrawn. For example, bureaucrats, for example, other businessmen as well. There has to be some kind of movement on this issue. It is important that either we move forward as a nation, not as a party, not as a government, but as a people, we move forward, or then for once and forever stop talking or complaining about corruption and actually learn to live with corruption. I hope the latter is not the case. Let us hope in coming days we see some action and we see engagement of people who can help us get to the bottom of these issues. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.